All right, welcome everyone. My name is Stephanie Mueller and I'm the Membership and Events Coordinator for the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Medina County Safety Council Coordinator. And we are excited that you are here with us today for our June Safety Council meeting. We have a great presentation for you today. We have some great information to share with you as well. So just as a reminder, again, we're asking you to make sure that your microphone is on mute. We are asking that you turn off your camera so that we can have the optimal bandwidth for our presentation today. If you do have questions, please use the chat box, whether it's questions from myself or Carrie from BWC, or for our speaker, Matt. We will be happy to relay those questions on. So you can put those into the chat box. So our agenda for today, we are going to give you an update on FY22. Carrie is going to give you a BWC update. Matt's going to do our presentation on severe weather safety and Skywarn spotting. We will have time for question and answers at the end, and then we will adjourn. So some information for FY22. So FY22 starts July 1st of this year and runs through June 30 of next year. I know many of you have been asking myself and Carrie for information about what will happen with Safety Council for the next fiscal year. We were informed by Ohio BWC that Safety Council meetings will be conducted virtually for the next year. So beginning in July of this year, all the way again through June 30 of next year, Safety Council meetings will be virtual. Medina County Safety Council is dedicated to continuing these virtual meetings. So we will be having 10 virtual meetings, and then there will be 2 virtual offerings by BWC. This also means that because the meetings are still not virtual, that the rebate program remains suspended until in-person meetings resume. So again, for FY22, there will be no rebate program. There's also no CEO attendance requirement and no collection of semi-annual reports. However, we do encourage you to invite your CEOs or your higher ranking officials to attend any of the Safety Council meetings, as the information is important and could be shared with anybody on your teams. But again, and we will send an email out to remind you, going into fiscal year 22, all safety meetings, Safety Council meetings through next June will be continued to be held virtually. So keeping this in mind, we miss all of you and we miss seeing you in person. So for July, for our kickoff, we have a really fun event planned for you. We are super excited to offer a drive-through lunch where you will be visiting us once you register for a drive-through lunch at Weymouth Country Club on Tuesday, July 20th. You can pick up lunch from 11 to 11:30. That will give you enough time to get back to your office to jump on our Zoom, which will be from 12 to 1. We are hoping to have somebody from OSHA give us an update and kick off our FY22 year, where we are hoping to do OSHA topics for next year. So each month we are hoping to tackle a topic related to OSHA to help provide more information to your company. So registration will be required ahead of time. There will be a cost for the lunch. If you're not able to join us for the lunch, you will still be able to attend that meeting via Zoom for free, as will all of our Zoom meetings for next year be free. But we thought we would try something a little fun. You will see the steering committee's friendly faces as you come to Weymouth, drive through the parking lot. We will have some goodies, surprise goodies for you along with your lunch. So stay tuned for registration information. We will have that soon, but definitely mark on your calendar for Tuesday, July 20th. As well as keeping the 3rd Tuesday of each month open for next year's Safety Council meeting. So we look forward to hopefully seeing you drive by next month. So I will turn it over to Carrie to give her update.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I am really excited about next year, because in addition to doing the drive-through lunch in July, we're going to try something from a programming standpoint, maybe just a little bit differently. What we want to do is focus on OSHA's top 10. And so Stephanie said there's going to be 10 meetings and then 2 BWC meetings that are going to be like mega meetings, big meetings with folks all across the state. And the 10 meetings that we're having, or at least most of those, because we're combining some of the topics, we're going to try to hit OSHA's top 10 citation type topics. So that will be something different. It's going to be neat. It's going to be really informative. It's going to be really interesting to get all the speakers for that. So keep cheering for us. We're working on that one. So those of you that don't possibly know me, my name is Carrie Gray. I am the safety consultant with the BWC that works with Medina County. I have all of Medina County. I have parts of Summit and a whole lot of other areas. And I am here to help you. So if you want to flip to the next slide, at this time we are still virtual, but that doesn't mean that I can't help you. So if you have a question or you have a concern or you have something going on, just like we would talk after a meeting or just like we would talk before a meeting, please get in touch with me. Let me know, give me a phone call, give me an email. I will help you in any way possible that I can, and we'll figure out together how to make this work. So just know that we're still here, we're still helping, working on a lot of special projects, and I'm talking to a lot of you on a pretty frequent basis. So if you're not one of those people and you feel left out, give me a call and we can figure something out. There are some webinars coming up. There was a webinar that's almost ending right now around trench safety, and that one was like a 2-hour deal that just happened through the BWC, but you can see a couple on there that are coming up. And I think the one that really should pique your interest if you're a small business is that one on July 13th. So we'll send all the information out for that as we get it through all of the members at the Safety Council. The next thing that should be up here is the different classes. So we're doing virtual classes. Oh, nope, I lied. I just threw this in here last minute. So I hope you guys all saw, we talked, probably the last 2 months about the directive that OSHA put out there for COVID. And just yesterday, I want to say, which is why I just added this, OSHA just added 2 things. They added a temporary standard for healthcare. So it's specific to healthcare. So if you're healthcare, you need to read it. That is on my reading list this week, or at least this weekend, or I'm on vacation next week, so I'll probably take that one with me and read it. Safety geek, you guys all know that. But they also have updated the mitigating and preventing the spread of COVID in the workplace for everybody. And again, I haven't gotten to get through that whole thing yet, but you can see it's in purple. That is right off of OSHA's website, and it comes up right at the beginning when you get onto OSHA's website, www.osha.gov. So that is out there, that is coming down the pike, that is changing. So the next slide will have all the classes that we have coming up. As of right now, they're scheduling classes through the beginning of October. I asked about when we may have classes in person, and I haven't gotten a response yet, but these are all virtual classes. The safety for the non-safety professional one is, I'm actually teaching that in 2 weeks. So there is a lot of those coming up and a lot of really good topics, and those kind of coincide with the top 10 too. So keep that in mind if there's a topic that you need some more information on. All right, the next slide is, thank you, is some of the new stuff or some of the other resources that we have available to you. And one of those, and actually I just had 3 new videos post on the YouTube safety micro video training series on trench safety, because it is Trench Safety Stand Down Week, in case you didn't know that. So if you're digging trenches, there's a whole lot of information out there for you, including 3 new micro training safety series. Another series that we're working on right now is around hearing protection and training if you have to require folks to wear hearing protection. We're working on that one, and there's a new directive around, or an emphasis program around hearing protection and hearing conservation. So that one will be, I think, needed once we get to that point. We have a lot of sample safety written programs out there on our website. Those are brand new, just recently updated. So those are good. And same with the safety talks. Those are recently updated. So lots of good information for you from the BWC. Like I said, I have all that stuff for you, but if you have any questions or you have anything going on that you need help with, reach out. That's what we're here for, so we can help you. I think is that my last slide, Stephanie? Yep, awesome.
All right, perfect. So again, if you do have questions for Carrie and you want to put them in the chat box, she could be happy to answer those at the end of today's meeting. If not, we will put our contact information up again at the end, and then you can definitely email us or call us with any questions that you might have. Again, as a reminder, we will be at the end of this meeting giving away three weather radios. So we will be doing a drawing at the end for those of you that attended. So thanks for joining us today. That's something new that we would like to start as we head into our new fiscal year. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Matt Nicholson, who is going to be our presenter today. He is an amateur radio operator and coordinator for the Cuyahoga County Skywarn, which he's going to tell you all about that today if you're not familiar. He's also the founder of a nonprofit volunteer group called Event Support Group that provide volunteer communications and event support around the greater Cleveland area, including down into Medina County. During the day, Matt works for Breaky Energy, an energy consulting company in Chagrin Falls. Matt coordinates the electricity and natural gas quote solicitation process for large commercial and industrial customers, ensuring they contract for the best product in a timely manner. He also helps with special energy products such as energy audits and metering upgrades. So he is no stranger to manufacturing and industrial large companies, as well as safety related issues. So we have asked Matt to join us today to talk about severe weather safety and Skywarn spotting. So I'm gonna turn it over to Matt so that he can share his presentation with all of you.
All righty, let me get my screen share going here. All right, we looking good there?
You're great, go ahead.
All right, well, thanks again. My name is Matt Nicholson, and yeah, in my past life, I worked in retail loss prevention, and a big part of that was safety audits and customer accident reports and all that stuff. So definitely no stranger to safety in the workplace. So as Stephanie mentioned, I kind of dabble in a little bit of everything. I'll talk briefly about what Skywarn is and what I do with it. As the Cuyahoga County Skywarn coordinator, basically it's to deal with a small subgroup of Skywarn spotters that use amateur radio to report their sightings to the National Weather Service. But there are plenty of Skywarn spotters that are not amateur radio operators. It's open to anyone. They conduct training once a year, so anybody interested in that can look into it a little bit further. And then, as Stephanie mentioned, I also do other amateur radio stuff. So just a real quick plug for what we do. We do a lot of volunteer communications for events, charitable bike rides, marathons, runs, other events. We've worked the Republican National Convention for the Cuyahoga County Emergency Management Agency. We worked another charitable event called Convoy of Hope, where they came into town to distribute meals and stuff to low-income households, and basically any type of these events that need radio communications, we help out with. And as Stephanie said, we do go down into Medina and help out down there as well. So not a stranger to the area. But both those groups, Event Support Group and also Skywarn, Cuyahoga County Skywarn, are signed up as what are called Weather Ready Nation ambassadors. And if you want more information about that program, you can go to the website weather.gov/WRN and learn more about it. If your company is interested in signing up for it and taking a little bit more of a proactive approach to be ready for weather related stuff, severe weather, things like that, there's information on that page for it. When I talk about weather, I've kind of broken it down to three different things: severe weather in general, tornadoes, and lightning. But it's worth mentioning that when it comes to weather related deaths, actually none of those are the top causes of weather related deaths in the United States. Generally, the top causes of weather related deaths in the United States are temperature extremes, hot and cold, and also flooding. So, you know, and it's kind of funny that we're not talking about either of those two, I guess, but it's worth noting that when you guys are looking at ways to keep people safe from the weather, the number one thing to keep people safe from is temperature extremes, making sure people are staying hydrated, staying out of the sun, things like that. And then flooding. Flooding is something that people take for granted. We've all seen the videos of people driving through floodwaters, and the reality is that if you're talking about moving water, it takes a very, very small amount of water to move a vehicle from where it is. And the faster it's moving, the easier it is. So those two things are worth keeping in mind as we go through this, that we're going to talk about things that are definitely dangerous and cause a lot of deaths, but the most important things to think about are temperatures and flooding. So Stephanie mentioned the NOAA weather radio. It's a great idea to have a NOAA weather radio in your facilities, in your home, wherever. It's going to generally be the most reliable source of information. It's not dependent on the internet. It's not dependent on electricity, assuming you have a radio that runs on batteries, and it's always there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it's really the most reliable way to get weather information. When you are looking for a weather radio, pretty much all modern radios have this feature, but just so that you know, the specific feature that you're looking for is called SAME, specific area message encoding. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to type in a code that will limit your warnings to just your county. So I assume that everybody here is Medina County. So I have some information for when you do get your weather radios. These are the 3 transmitters that you're likely to hear in Medina County. One's in Akron, one's up here in Cleveland. It's actually east of Cleveland in Chesterland, and one of them is in Grafton. And the same code for Medina County is 039103. So when you get your weather radio, assuming you only want to hear information about Medina County, you would enter that code into your weather radio, and then you would make sure that you are listening to a transmitter on one of those 3 frequencies, because those are the only transmitters in the area that are going to be putting out information for Medina County. So on the off chance that you find a transmitter that's stronger when you're setting up your weather radio, if it's not on one of those 3 frequencies, you're not going to get warnings for your area. So you need to make sure that you're paying attention to that when you're setting up your radio. And the three frequencies will all provide information. So you just basically need to pick whichever one of those 3 is the strongest, and you're good to go. So just a little bit of general information, things that in my experience I have found seem to confuse people the most are the differences between a watch and a warning. So when you're talking about being prepared for severe weather, it's real important to understand the products that are put out and the differences between a watch and a warning. Generally speaking, a watch means that whatever the warning is might happen. So a severe thunderstorm watch means you might get severe thunderstorms. A tornado watch means you might get tornadoes. Conditions are favorable for those things to occur. And then a warning means that one of those things is actually occurring right now. So a severe thunderstorm warning means that wherever the warning area is, they have observed a severe thunderstorm. Tornado warning means that they have either received a report of a tornado or observed a tornado indication on the radar, and it's happening right now. You need to take immediate action to protect yourself. An important thing worth noting is the criteria for a severe thunderstorm. A lot of times people will wonder why there's no severe thunderstorm warning or why a warning wasn't issued for a storm. There's very specific criteria for the National Weather Service to issue a severe thunderstorm. It has to exhibit either winds that exceed 58 miles an hour or equal to or higher than 58 miles an hour, or it has to be producing hail that is equal to or larger than 1 inch in diameter. If neither of those 2 things are happening in the thunderstorm, it does not meet the criteria for a severe thunderstorm. It doesn't matter how much it's raining. It doesn't matter how much lightning it is. If one of those 2 things aren't happening, it doesn't meet the criteria and they won't issue a severe thunderstorm warning. So it's important to remember things like that as well. So just some general stats about tornadoes. These are the upper left image is tornadoes per state from 1981 to 2010, the average annual. And you can see that in Ohio, we're definitely not near the top, but we're also not at the bottom. So we do get a fair amount of tornadoes in an average year. And then in the other image, you can see that the most of them tend to occur in May across the country and start to decline June, July, August. So we're actually already past the peak of severe weather season, and we've had very little severe weather so far. So that's a good thing. So continuing with the theme of terms that confuse people, a lot of people get confused by what a tornado actually is, what a funnel cloud is. So the definition of a tornado is a violently rotating column of air extending from the base of a thunderstorm and in contact with the ground. That's very important. If it's not in contact with the ground, then it's not a tornado. Another thing to remember is that you might not always be able to see it. So in this picture, you know, we see this cone all the way to the ground. We see all this debris. It's very clear. But a lot of times a tornado, the visible funnel maybe will only extend a little bit from the cloud, and then the rest of it won't be visible, but you'll still see all this debris at the bottom of the ground. So that's how it indicates a tornado. So just because the visible funnel is not in contact, as long as the air is in contact, it qualifies as a tornado. So again, tornadoes are in contact with the ground. If it's not in contact with the ground, but it is rotating, then it's just called a funnel cloud. Funnel clouds are going to be something that they will issue a tornado warning in many cases, because funnel clouds oftentimes will continue to reach the ground and produce tornadoes. So couple pictures, again, tornado is in contact with the ground, and then until it touches the ground or after it stops touching the ground, it's just a funnel cloud. Still something that can be dangerous that you need to keep an eye on, but just to kind of clear up the terminology a little bit. So and again, all this information, pretty much most of this, I should say, can be found on that website that I gave you, weather.gov/WRN. So if you feel like you want to take notes or save the recording, there's plenty of information, as well as a lot more on the website. So so just general ways to be prepared for tornadoes and any storm. Again, make sure that you've got your NOAA weather radio ready to go, programmed, on, powered up, fresh batteries. Listen to media broadcasts. Sign up for notifications if there's anything in your community. Maybe Stephanie can answer when we're done if there's any sort of a notification that occurs in Medina County. I'm pretty sure that there is, but I don't know offhand. In Cuyahoga County, we have Ready Notify, which you can sign up for based on your area, and they send out the alerts. I will say, though, that they're not always very timely, so you should look into some third-party ways to sign up, and I would suggest that you sign up for a few of them just to make sure that you're getting alerts, because when you're dealing with third parties, anything can go wrong. Create a plan. Make sure that you've got a plan for getting in contact with family members, friends, especially if you have elderly or anyone that can't seek shelter very easily, that you have a way of getting in contact with them, letting them know what's going on, checking on them afterwards. Practice the plan, especially if you've got children. You know, they tend to get scared and panic, so make sure that the kids know exactly what to do around home. Make sure that they know where to go, what to do. And then if you're in a business environment, make sure that all your employees know what your designated areas are, where to go, how to get to them, what to do with customers if you're running a business, things like that. Have all that planned out ahead of time so that you're not trying to make decisions at the spur of the moment. And then what to do during the tornado. Again, you're going to seek shelter. If you're in your home, or we're pretty much anywhere, basements are best. If you don't have access to a basement meaning something that's below ground, obviously, any sort of interior room away from any windows. Try to get out of rooms that have very large ceilings, very large openings, large windows, anything like that. In a home, usually bathrooms are good because they tend to kind of be towards the center of the house, and they tend to be small. So there's not a lot of opportunity for debris to get dislodged and go flying at you. So try to, if you're in a facility that has a designated, maybe like an old fallout shelter or something like that, a lot of times those rooms should be reinforced, so you should be a bit safer there. If you're outside, seek shelter in a sturdy building. Stay away from like garages and sheds and pavilions and things like that. If you're specifically worried about a tornado, try to get to a low-lying area. If there's some sort of a ditch or a culvert, try and get down in that. But also, when you're in those areas, be aware of any flooding. You don't want to go hide in a drainage culvert that's going to fill with rain when it starts raining. So you're going to kind of have to use your judgment there. If you're in a vehicle specifically for a tornado, the best course of action is to drive to the closest shelter. If you're not able to seek shelter and you think the tornado is about to hit you, it's actually safer to get out of your vehicle and, again, try and get down, get low to the ground, get in some sort of a ditch or a ravine. In a tornado, a vehicle can very easily get lofted, airborne, and rolled and dragged. And if at all possible, you don't want to be in the vehicle when that happens. Do not drive to highway overpasses. Ever since that video came out, a lot of people were doing that. That's not safe either. So the best place to be is inside a sturdy shelter if possible. And then afterwards, and this before, during, and after is the same for any sort of weather related thing. Keep listening to the NOAA weather radio, keep listening to your news media. Just because whatever happened is over doesn't mean that everything's over. There could always be more storms coming, more danger inbound. So kind of keep your head on a swivel, so to speak. Make sure that you're staying tuned and keeping an eye out for any sort of follow-up severe weather that might be occurring. Get in contact with people, make sure that they're okay, make sure they know you're okay. If you can, send text messages. Those will work a little bit better if there's any sort of infrastructure outages than actually calling on the phone. They require a lot less, so you're more likely to be able to send a text message or find your local ham radio operator if everything's down. If you can, safely assess the damage. Make sure that if your building is damaged, that you're staying out of it. You don't want to be caught in something when it collapses, things like that. And if you have any sort of first aid training or anything, then by all means use that if you can. So severe thunderstorms, again, a severe thunderstorm is defined as a storm that exhibits hail an inch or larger and wind gusts 58 miles an hour or larger. A lot of times thunderstorms can produce something called a microburst, which is basically just a rush of cooled air that comes down out of the center of the thunderstorm, hits the ground. Those winds can easily exceed 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 miles an hour. So a lot of times damage is going to be not even from a tornado, even though it looks like it. Severe thunderstorms can produce a lot of really damaging wind. And then, of course, they can also produce tornadoes. They can produce heavy rain and cause flooding. They can produce lightning. So there's just a ton of hazards from any sort of severe thunderstorm. Even a non-severe thunderstorm, they can be very dangerous. So you definitely want to always seek shelter whenever you're being threatened by a thunderstorm. Again, NOAA weather radios, if it's a severe thunderstorm, it'll let you know that it's coming in. If you're at home, get inside, get away from windows, get away from any sort of wired devices, although there's not much of that anymore, using the phone, things like that. Again, if you're at work, in your place of business, same thing, stay away from windows as much as possible, get into central areas and just kind of ride it out until it passes. Since it is summertime and people do stuff outside, it's important to remember again with all of this, whether it even be just a general thunderstorm, pavilions, picnic shelters, things like that are not safe. You need to get inside and away. So just because you're out of the rain doesn't mean that you're away from the danger. If a tornado is not inbound and it's just a severe thunderstorm and your concern is the lightning, being in a vehicle is definitely safer than being in sort of any sort of a pavilion or anything. So get into a vehicle. If you can, drive away. If not, you can ride out just a general thunderstorm. But again, if we're talking about any sort of tornado or something, then all of a sudden being in your vehicle is not the safest place to be. So keep that in mind. But the important thing to remember is that pavilions, picnic shelters, things like that don't provide you protection from severe winds. They don't provide you protection from lightning, any of that kind of stuff. So when we say get in, actually get inside a building with walls and a structure. And then as far as lightning is a big danger, and a lot of people take it for granted. The National Weather Service catchphrase, if you will, is when thunder roars, go indoors. The general idea is that if you're able to hear the thunder, you're able to be struck by the lightning. You don't have to actually be in the thunderstorm. So if you're close enough to hear the thunder, you're generally close enough to be struck by the lightning. And then some stats that the United States experiences about 25 million lightning strikes a year. A lot of those are in Florida. I used to live in Florida. Lightning's a huge problem down in Florida. But we have a fair amount of thunderstorms here today in Ohio, excuse me. And then on average, about 50 people a year are killed by lightning. So definitely not a huge number, but it's worth paying attention to. And then there is a OSHA. Let's see if this pops up. If you guys can see that, there is an OSHA PDF that's specifically talks about lightning. So you can go search that and get some more information about lightning. Anybody that's working outdoors or high up is specifically susceptible to lightning. So airport people, if anybody works out in fields and things like that, open areas, you're more susceptible to it. But so again, if you guys want some more information about lightning safety, you can go and find that PDF on the OSHA site. So some myths about lightning. If you're outside, you should crouch down. It'll reduce the risk. There's this idea that lightning always strikes the tallest object, which is absolutely not true. The taller objects may be more likely to get struck by lightning, but lightning can strike anything, no matter how tall or short it is. Lightning never strikes the same place. That's obviously completely fake. If it's not raining or there aren't clouds overhead, as you can see in this picture here, this lightning bolt went way out of this thunderstorm, probably several miles out, and struck the ground. So they refer to that as bolt from the blue. Again, if you can hear the thunder, chances are you can be struck by the lightning. The general rule is that you should seek shelter and stay in your shelter for 30 minutes after the last thunderclap that you hear. Another thing that cars won't get struck by lightning because the rubber tires insulate them. That's not true. This is an old grainy picture, but this is a picture that I saw in a book when I was very young, and it stuck with me that the lightning is jumping from the rim across the tire into the ground. That doesn't mean that you're not safe in a car. A car tends to provide what's referred to as a Faraday cage, which is a metal cage that if the car does get struck by lightning, generally the electricity will travel along the outside of the car and to the ground and leave the occupants safe. The key to that is that you can't be touching the outside of the car. So you've got to be inside the car. Don't be touching the door handles or anything. Basically just sit in there and put your hands in your lap and wait till it's over. Some more myths. There's a myth that if somebody gets struck by lightning that you can't touch them because their body will be electrified. That's absolutely not true. Unless they are in contact with some sort of a downed wire or something, obviously that's a different case. But if somebody simply got struck by lightning and is laying, there's no danger in touching them. And obviously, if the person's not breathing, you should immediately give CPR. I assume that everybody on this call is already trained in CPR. If you're not, please get trained. And the important thing about CPR now is that you really don't even have to give breaths anymore. They are now teaching that you only have to give compressions, and that's it. That just the compressions will bring enough air into the person's lungs, and that the blood will retain enough oxygen that just the compressions alone can save somebody's life, even if you're not comfortable giving breaths. So please don't let something like that prevent you from rendering aid. If you're in a house, you're not 100% safe from lightning. Again, you can have lightning strike wires outside and follow the wires into the house and hit appliances. A lot of houses that have old copper piping, the copper piping is grounded to the electrical system. So that's why a lot of times they'll say, don't take a shower in a thunderstorm. There's actually some truth to that in older houses. So be careful. So the last thing I said, I was going to talk a little bit about Skywarn. Skywarn is a program of volunteer weather spotters that attend training issued by the National Weather Service, and they teach you how to identify clouds, how to identify tornadoes, how to identify severe weather, severe winds, estimate winds, measure hail. All that stuff is covered in the Skywarn spotter training. So if you have even a tiny interest in weather, I would strongly encourage you to seek out a spotter training course. They're generally offered in the spring, March, and April. And this last year, they were all virtual. We'll see what happens next year, but you can go to the National Weather Service. Again, the weather.gov/CLE is the Cleveland Weather Office. Skywarn Spotting started back in the 60s. The Palm Sunday tornado outbreak, I think people in our area are familiar with that, had a big part of it. And there were some local tornadoes in our area that were associated with all that as well. So after that large outbreak, the National Weather Service started stepping up spotter training, recruiting, and kind of formulated the Skywarn program and really kicked it into action. So initially, weather spotting was for lightning near munitions plants, and then it focused on tornadoes because the tornadoes can form so quickly, and there's a lot of uncertainty on why tornadoes form, and basically just trying to lengthen the warning times as much as possible. I mentioned the National Weather Service in Cleveland. Just real quickly, the National Weather Service in Cleveland covers 30 counties all the way out to Lucas and Wood County in the west, and Erie and Crawford counties in Pennsylvania, and then all the way down to Knox County. So all the warnings for Medina County are issued from the National Weather Service in Cleveland, which used to be located at Hopkins Airport, but it's now located a little bit to the east in the greater Cleveland area. And then why we need severe weather spotters, because it helps verify what's going on. The meteorologists can see what they think is happening on radar, but they can't truly know what's happening. So people out in the field trained to identify these things can really help verify warnings, issue warnings. The other thing too is the farther you get away from the radar, the farther up in the air the beam is. It can't actually see all the way to the ground. So Skywarn spotters help provide that ground truth reality of what's happening in a thunderstorm. So, and then just some general information. Again, the National Weather Service in Cleveland, weather.gov/CLE, that should really be your official source. I'm always careful with getting my weather information from the news media. Certain news media sources tend to sensationalize things more than others. because, you know, a news channel, their ultimate goal is to get viewers. So sometimes that can tend to cloud their judgment. Some stations are better than others. I'm not going to get into who's who and what's what, but when all else fails, the National Weather Service is your direct link to weather information. So and then if you really want to track severe weather and when things are going to be happening in your area, spc.noaa.gov. And I could do a whole other presentation on how to use that website, but I won't really get into it too much. But look for convective outlooks when you get there, and then look for being in a slight or moderate risk of severe weather occurring in our area. And that's when you really need to start paying attention. So lots of information out there, though. And if you have any questions for me about anything, whether weather related or the volunteer work that we do in amateur radio, this is all my contact info, our website, our email address, Facebook, Twitter pages, all that stuff. I know Stephanie tends to be involved in events and has asked for my help. So if anybody else is doing any sort of large scale events that you think having people with radios that know how to use radios would be helpful, feel free to reach out to me and we'll see what we can do and get you on the calendar. We don't ever charge for anything. We do it all free, but we are a 501c3. So we do, of course, always accept donations to maintain equipment and things like that. So but that is all I have. So I will be happy to answer any sort of questions that anyone might have.
Thanks, Matt. That was very informative. I did pop up a couple of the links that you mentioned. So Medina County does have emergency alerts. It's through the Medina County EMA, Emergency Management Agency. So I did put that information into the chat box. So you can click on that and it's just a registration form. It's the WENS system that they use to send out. So it's going to be more than just weather related, but it's a good resource to have whether you live or work in the county. So if you're just working in the county, you know, you're certainly spending a large portion of your day here. I did put in the OSHA lightning guide that Matt mentioned, the PDF, and then I did put the link in for Skywarn. So if any of you are interested in information about that. And then we are recording this, so I will send those links along with Matt's PowerPoint presentation out afterwards. But are there any questions that anyone has?
And it's worth mentioning that NOAA Weather Radio is also part of the emergency alert system. So NOAA Weather Radio will also put out non-weather related warnings in some cases. So you'll get some of that information there as well.
All right, I don't see any questions, Stephanie. I did place at the beginning of the chat because Matt had made a comment about heat stress and flooding. And so actually 1 year ago, the June meeting last year, we did it on heat stress. So I put the link to that. That's out there on YouTube. And OSHA actually put out some updated information or some updated posters and things like that recently. So lots of good information from that one too.
Perfect. And I will include a link in that with the recap from this meeting as well. It seems like a long time ago to remember that it was a year.
Yeah, it was. It does seem like a long time ago. I don't know if we want to ask people, if you have a camera, you can turn your camera on at this time because we do have the speakers and the presentations done. I think Stephanie's going to do the exciting drawing at this point. So we want to see your face if you win. So it's got to be, what do we always say, like the price is right. We want you to be really excited and come on down. So feel free to turn on your cameras. I don't see anybody taking me up on that offer, but I'm trying.
Right.
I see one.
Oh, I see one. Okay, so you probably can't see it, but on my little phone, I have been checking everyone in who is in attendance at our meeting today. And then there's a little button here that when I click on it, it will randomly select somebody from the registration list. And again, Matt had suggested these weather radios. They weren't expensive at all. They were $30. So it's a great something for you to have at work, but also, you know, something to think about having at home as well. As Matt mentioned, you definitely want to make sure that it is something that does have battery backup so that in case there is no electricity, but then you can definitely set it to pick up those alerts for the area that you are in. And again, it's only going to pick up for your local area. So, all right, without further ado, we are going to give 3 of these away. So I'm going to press my little button on my phone. And it tells me that Cheryl with Ebner Furnaces. Cheryl, are you on our call today? Cheryl, you are our first winner of a weather radio. Yay! We need like sound effects. All right, and then we will randomly select a second person. Let's see, Danielle Thacker with Rollaway Corporation. Danielle, you are the second winner of one of our weather radios today. Danielle, I see Danielle's name. So Danielle will get a weather radio, and then we will do our random draw for our next one. Oh, Cheryl did say thank you. She sent a message. So Cheryl, we will get that over to you. And then our third winner, our third winner will be, let's see, Bruce Ebelhart with Suprema. So Bruce, you are our third winner of our weather radio. We need like clappers or something to make noise. Yay! So we will get those weather radios out to you. We appreciate all of you attending today's Safety Council meeting with us. Again, we are excited to continue to provide you with educational opportunities each month as we head into fiscal year 22. We know that it's going to be another tough year of virtual, and we do miss you. So stay tuned again for information for July 20th, where we will do that drive-through. So Safety Council will be picking up a portion of your lunch cost, and then you will pay for the other cost or the other part. And then do a drive-through at Weymouth Country Club. As I said, there'll be fun and surprises. Everybody will receive some fun things as they drive through, and then head back to the office so that we can jump on our Zoom. But we are excited to provide another year of safety-related information. And then stay tuned. We hope to do drawings just like this each month, as well as potentially some other fun educational opportunities throughout the course of the year. So if you do have any questions for Carrie or myself, always feel free to reach out. We are more than happy to help you. Certainly whether they're safety related or just business related as well. So again, Matt, thank you so much. We appreciate all of your information and your expertise in this area. Matt is happy to answer any questions. I will provide his contact information to you. So feel free to reach out to him if you have weather related or event related. Yes, I have done some events and used Matt and his team, and they are excellent at helping to keep people safe during events. So we are happy to provide that information. So Carrie, anything else?
We'll be helping with the Twin Sizzler on the 4th. So.
Oh yes, yeah. So his group will be out in Medina for the Twin Sizzler. So you can look for him there if you're partaking. Carrie, anything that I'm missing?
No, I think you're good. I'm here if anybody needs me, and have a great June.
All right, we will see all of you in July.